Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, college football fans, college football playoff fans across the nation and around the world. This is Tim May with the Tim May Show, coming to you from the live. We're coming live, ladies and gentlemen, so to speak, to tape for the FanStreamSports.com major studios here in North Dallas. Courtesy of our great producer, Tim Ham, who works about 17, 18 hours a day. I didn't see the cot he claims he sleeps on in here, but we appreciate him letting us make use of his studio. But you see Clay Hall back there in the North Columbus studio. Clay, give everybody a wave.
I got to tell you, I've been seeing people, a lot of Miami players on social media saying Dallas is super dope and being in Jerry World, etc. It's super dope that we got Jeff Snook and Tim May live in Big D covering this football game. Excited to hear what you guys have to say about this matchup.
Yeah, it's super dope seeing you sitting there, Clay. I mean,
yeah,
do you agree with that? Don't you,
it's
Jeff?
Always great to see Clay.
Yeah,
with my bald head. Yeah, doing well.
When I think super dope, I think Clay Hall.
Clay Hall.
Yeah, you do.
Ladies and gentlemen, there's double entendre in almost anything you say, but that's the way it goes. Super dope, Clay Hall, along with Jeff Snook. I got Jeff Snook here, by the way. Ohio State's going to play Miami college football playoff quarterfinal in the Cotton Bowl. Seems like Ohio State has set reservations to be in the Cotton Bowl. This will be the third straight year they played in the Cotton Bowl. And 4 times in like 7 years. It's something crazy. And but it's Miami versus Ohio State. And of course, what came to mind was not Miami versus Ohio State in 2011 or Miami versus Ohio State in 2010. What came to mind when this matchup blossomed in front of us was 2002 for the national championship. I know the game was played January 3rd of 2003, but we call it the 2002 national championship BCS game. Remember when you and I liked the BCS? We thought that was more than enough for college football.
Sure did. I worked for the BCS, remember?
Yes, he did, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. Jeff Snook once drew a paycheck from the BCS Bowl Championship Series. But, we're going to talk about a little bit more of a legacy of that game, which is interesting because we all know, 43 players from that game ended up in the National Football League.
Incredible.
Yeah, it was, I just wrote that figure today.
Big number. It was a big number.
37 got drafted. 58 players on both rosters played down in the NFL. Wow.
That's super crazy.
That goes back to the freshmen, too, that might not get on the field that night, but they ended up in the NFL.
And that helped explain the raw intensity of that football game.
Absolutely.
Was nuts. And here's Ohio State and Miami meeting once again with something major on the line, which is advancement in the college football playoffs 2025 model, which of course bleeds into 2026. I think college football needs to get a grip on that before it does anything else, of not confusing people with the 2025, 2026, because this isn't college basketball. But I digress.
Hey,
Bottom
Tim,
line is I've got Jeff on here because Jeff wrote a great story on his Facebook page. See, Jeff still writes, even though he's been in private business for a long time. Would you call yourself an entrepreneur? What would you call yourself?
It's an exercise to keep my chops sharp, to write. Who knows who reads it? Anybody reads it. Don't get paid for it. Do it for the love of the game, for the love of college football. Might have a thought or a theme I don't see anybody covering or writing about. I just do it for myself. And,
like the last time you were on here, which was a couple of weeks ago, talking about is Ryan Day getting the short yardage, getting the red zone offense in shape.
You know me. I love college football like you do.
I know.
And the only thing I know how to do in this world really is write. So I still do it even though I'm semi-retired, pretty much retired.
Yeah, you know how to do a lot of things. I will testify he knows how to do a lot of things, ladies and gentlemen. He's made a nice living doing what he's doing. Is that my phone going off? I think it's yours, Clay.
It's not mine.
Not mine. Not mine.
I don't know where my phone is.
I turned mine off.
Hang on 1 second.
Because that will violate Tim May airspace if I leave the phone on. That is a no-no.
My phone was on the other side of the control board here, so I apologize for that to everybody. But that way, we're not faking this.
Is that DoorDash asking for our?
This is slap dick for a reason. Yeah, it was DoorDash calling. But anyway, let me get to my point. I keep digressing. You notice that about me?
You
Jeff,
digress
over our
often.
40 years of knowing each other.
Yeah, but I digress. I thought I invented that little phrase, and you stole it from me.
No, I didn't stole it from you.
Stole it from me.
But I digress. I've been saying forever in my life because I digress every day of my life.
Every once in a while I use it, and somebody always said that's Tim May's line, and I say, hey, I think I had that before he did.
But anyway, the reason we got Jeff on here again, we're propping him up here, and somebody else is working his buttons, is he wrote a really good story on Facebook just talking about the unbelievable mortality rate of the guys that played in that first game, that slap down, drag out fight they had in Sun Devil Stadium there in Tempe, Arizona. What a night that was. But it is stunning, isn't it? How many fellas from that game have lost their life?
Not only that part of it, which I'll get to, but the maybe breaking a few laws and going to prison side of it too. So if you look at the one key play, which when Sean Taylor, their All-American safety, gets that interception in the end zone, he's running it back, and Maurice Clarlett chases him down and steals the ball from him.
Yeah.
Think about those two players. I mean, Sean Taylor gets shot and killed in a home invasion 5 years later in Miami at his home when he's playing with the Redskins. He's an all-pro with the Redskins. Right. When that happens, Maurice Clarlett goes 3 years to the day of almost to the day when Ohio State's playing Notre Dame in the Fiesta Bowl. He's back in Columbus committing a few crimes. He spends 3.5 years in prison.
Yep.
So you move on from that. You got Will Smith, the All-American defensive end, who had a sack on the very first play of the game, Miami's first play. He has a sack, and he's Ohio State's great defensive end. He gets in a road rage incident in New Orleans at the age of 37 and gets shot in the back 8 times.
On a city street, by the way.
Yeah, down by the quarter. And that was a semi-pro football player that shot him and got convicted of second-degree murder. That gets overturned by the Supreme Court, and then they retry him for manslaughter. He's still serving 25 years. Now go to the interference call, the controversial interference call at the end of the game. Glenn Sharp is the defender. After his career with the Falcons, I believe the year was 2012, he gets in an incident and shoots a man 5 times and kills him and gets charged with second-degree murder. And once they start investigating, the detectives drop the charges, called it self-defense. And that's just and then you go to Kellen. One more thing I'm leaving out. Tight end Kellen Winslow, All-American for Miami.
I wasn't going to let you leave it out.
Oh, yeah. He catches the touchdown pass in the first overtime to give them a 24-17 lead. He has a 10-year NFL career, first-round pick of the Browns, which I'm a fan of, the Browns. And he ends up going to prison for 15 years on 2 counts of rape, and he does not get out to 2035. That's just the imprisonment part of it right there. Yeah. And then Ohio State's had 5 players on that roster die, some of natural causes.
But natural causes. Wow, that's crazy when you're talking about guys in their 40s.
All under 41 years old. But when they did it, Shane Olivier, I think, had a heart problem. Ivan Douglas died of COVID a few years ago.
Yep.
Mike Kudla also passed away. And then recently, Nick Mangold got in that game when Alex Stepanovich got hurt and had a heck of a game as a true freshman blocking Vince Wilfork. And I remember he told me once for my book, What It Means to Be a Buckeye, I said, I was like a deer in the headlights looking across the line of scrimmage at that guy, scared to death, but they all said he held his own. As we all know, he
definitely did. Yeah.
He just died of kidney failure this past October. After becoming a Jets legend, playing 11 years with the Jets, starting 177 games, is in the Ring of Honor. He's a candidate for the Hall of Fame someday.
Oh, absolutely.
So, I mean, it's just amazing what has happened in the 22 years since that ball game.
Yeah. It is. It's sad in so many ways.
Tragic, sad.
Yeah. But backtracking a little bit on a couple of those. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, I've got some sound coming up from Media Day with Ohio State in AT&T Stadium, aka Jerry World, from earlier today. We'll be playing some of that, including a little interview. I was in part of an interview with Bill Rabinowitz talking to Jayden Fielding, Ohio State's kicker, who was much maligned after missing that kick against Indiana, 27-yard. We thought chip shot. Nothing from the right hash on a college football field is exactly a chip shot because there's some angles to play. Not giving him an excuse. He knows he's the first person to tell you should have made that kick. but just some of the vitriol that followed that. And, somebody gave out his phone number, for example. That's
really?
Yeah, that's never a good thing. Well, because he said, all of a sudden he was getting calls and messages. How did these people get my phone number? Right on down the line. And then, and also have sound with Gabe VanSickle is going to start at right guard for Ohio State in this game in place of the injured Tegra Shabola. Some sound from him and also from Carson Hinsman, Ohio State center, who obviously has been encouraging Gabe every chance he gets in terms of this is going to be Gabe VanSickle's first start, I do believe. And interesting, this is the game that Luke Montgomery made his first start in. He played a lot up the first couple of games, but he played a lot. But he started against Texas last year. And just talking about that aspect of it, Carson Hinsman, of course, is probably the bedrock of the offensive line when you think about it. He and Austin Ceraville, the left tackle. But just on their encouragement, et cetera, for Gabe VanSickle, because, the big challenge for Ohio State is going against Miami's highly touted defensive front. And what's funny, I remember writing about this ad nauseum back in 2002, was Ohio State's defensive front going against Miami's highly touted offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
And Ohio State, for the most part, with Darian Scott and Will Smith, and et al. I like to say that covers my bases there. They held sway for the most part in that game. They were a dominant force in that game.
Right.
I remember writing about people were shortchanging the Ohio State defense going into that game. I couldn't believe it. Matt Wilhelm and I talk about that all the time. It's like, dude, Ohio State had at least as good a defense as Miami did. I mean, it was, and you look at guys that went on to the National Football League, you can almost match number for number the guys that went there. But of course, when you think of Miami's defense, you think about Jonathan Vilma, one of the more savage linebackers you ever saw play the game, right?
Right. Well, you talk about Ohio State's defensive line that night. Don't forget to mention Tim Anderson.
Oh, no.
And Simon Frazier. Huge sack.
Yep.
That set up the field goal in the final play. Otherwise, they're threatening to score a touchdown and win the game after Roscoe Parrish's punt return. After a huge play that rarely gets mentioned on 3rd and 6, if you want to talk about that. But no, that was I had written something recently that I remember the press box at the old Sun Devil Stadium, which one of my favorite stadiums to ever watch or cover a football game.
But boy, was it packed that night.
It was packed with NFL general managers and scouts. They were everywhere just looking at the talent on the field. Yeah.
I mean, Clay, you were there. You remember all that.
Well, I was just, when you talked about 58 players, combined 58 players played a down in the National Football League, then I fast forward to these two groups. Ohio State's going to contribute 20 or 25 before, it's not going to rival 58, I don't think. But when I keep hearing people say, and coaches and analysts, NFL players all over the field, which tells me it's crazy to me. This game has a 9.5 point line on it, but I do remember I was going to mention Tim Anderson and Simon Frazier, who won a state championship at Upper Arlington, and then later this national championship, and he was the king. If you ever went into Tommy's on Lane Avenue, Simon Frazier had signed this and that and pictures, and anyway, and because I lived nearby, and he went on to he's got a medical career that is flourishing. But Simon, because my kids went to that high school. He was the big man on campus in UA, no doubt about it.
Legend, man. And
you lived nearby, Clay. Did you ever go in the bar across the street? It used to be called the Black Forest Inn. Remember that?
The Black Forest Inn, when I was in high school, was a place that some seniors at UA might have frequented, and was verboten for me. My dad said, if I ever catch you in there, I'm going to,
Now it's called the Thirsty Scholar, but I digress there, Tim. No,
there you go. Little UA trivia there.
No, that's why it had that reputation about being a tough place to go into and leave. Because Jeff Snook worked there. Huh?
Yeah, I said I got in a great bar fight there one night.
Yeah,
as a bouncer.
The next time you're on the podcast, we're going to go through that because that was a bar fight that went on into litigation.
Yes, it did.
Yeah. So, and Jeff prevailed, by the way.
Continue to digress then.
No, we'll do that some other time. I wanted to, well, we could do it now, but too
long a story.
Yeah, it's too long a story, but it's an interesting story. Let's put it that way. But going back to that 2002 game, and Clay is right. This game, there's a lot of big time players on this football field on Wednesday night.
I look at these quarterfinals, these 8 teams.
Oh yeah.
There's NFL talent on every team, all 8 of them. I mean, these are probably the 8 best teams left, minus Notre Dame. I mean, Notre Dame should be here and probably would be in the final 8. But NFL scouts are going to be at every game, spreading themselves very thin. I mean, just look at the Texas Tech and Oregon game, the talent on that. Indiana, Alabama, Ole Miss, and Georgia, and then this ball game. But this ball game is going to get a lot more attention because it sits by itself on New Year's Eve.
Correct.
And there's a lot of the matchup's good. I think the matchup is a contrast of styles. You got the 2002 game, the 2003 game is still hovering over this ball game, even though they played twice in between. And this is a real grudge match. I mean, Miami fans absolutely, and I can attest to this from living in South Florida. All 12 Miami fans hate Ohio State University.
Yeah.
And
plus the Winslows.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, they still think that game was stolen, even though there's a play earlier that they don't even know about, that Ohio State would have taken 3 knees if it's called correctly. And the game would have ended 17-14.
Chris Gamble.
In regulation. It was a 3rd and 6 from their own 32 with 2 minutes and 18 seconds left. And Chris Gamble gets held coming out of his break. And the back judge that failed to make the calls, one Terry Porter.
Wait a minute. Stop real quick, though.
Okay.
Plus, Craig Krenzel made a hell of a play on that play, scrambling out and getting the pass off, and so they got robbed.
Not only did he get held, that they missed the call, and there's plenty of pictures online of the hold. You can see that. It's clear as day. He catches the ball inbounds and rolls out of bounds right in front of the Ohio State bench. Now, remember, this is before replay, so they can't replay it.
Right,
yeah.
So there's 2 causes there for an automatic first down, of which Miami had 1 timeout, and there's no 2-minute warning then, or 2-minute timeout. So they would have been taking 3 knees, as Dress has told me several times. We'd been taking 3 knees, and the ball game's over. It's 17-14. There's no controversy. The interference call never takes place. And I begged him, like a month later, I said, why didn't you bring that up in the post? He goes, Jeff, we won the game. Why would I bring it up?
Right.
And I said, well, the very reason is so Miami fans don't complain for 25 to 50 to 100 years that they had the game stolen from them.
Right. Or if they do, they know your side of it.
Overlooked by the ABC broadcast. They mentioned it shortly and then moved on, never showed it again.
Yeah. Real quick before we move on with the Terry Porter thing, which I think is interesting. Matt Wilhelm, my guest here every week on one of our podcasts, as he said about Seaver's field goal, was a 39-yard field goal, his longest ever. And he goes, as Wilhelm will tell you, he goes, I got this finger on it. I don't want to hold it up.
Right.
If I'd gotten both 2 fingers on it, it would have been blocked.
I didn't even realize
he literally touched the ball.
Well,
the kick that tied the game.
I watched the game again this past week, and I just remembered, for some reason, it's funny how your memory plays tricks on you, that he split the uprights. That barely slid in. Inside the right upright.
Yes.
And back then you could take successive timeouts. You can't do that now.
Yeah, exactly.
And Tressel took, I think, 2 in a row, and to try to freeze him, and it almost worked, but no. And that's after the Roscoe Parrish, like I said, punt return.
Yeah.
Frazier's sack was huge.
Oh, ridiculous. But let's get to the Terry Porter legacy of that game. And Jeff pointed this out to me the other day, and I wasn't even aware of it. Terry Porter had I don't call it guts. I mean, it was obvious that it was a hold or pass interference with Sharp, right?
There's so many angles to that play. And
Chris Gamble.
First of all, let me get to a little background. A lot of people don't know. The Hurricanes' secondary coach was one Mark Stoops.
There you go.
Who just got fired at Kentucky a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
That's the secondary coach, and they know they got 1 play left because the timeout is called beforehand. And Krenzel's looking at Chris Gamble directly, and Ben Hartsock standing in front of him. He says, you got 1-on-1 on that right side. I'm coming to you. Dan Fouts, ABC had a boom mic there.
Yeah.
And it picked it up. Now, that could have been piped in the Miami press box at the time. They shouldn't have had a boom mic there, but Fouts gets it wrong. He said,
exactly,
he's talking to Ben Hartsock, and he's going to go to him, but he said Michael Jenkins will probably be the primary receiver on a slant over the middle. He wasn't in the same zip code of what the play was.
No.
Those were neither one of them.
No.
The play was to go to Chris Gamble the whole time, and Fouts
one-on-one.
Fouts had a bad night that night. He made a ton of mistakes when I listened to him.
Hey, Clay, you've heard me. My son Kyle and my son Corey both do great impressions of Dan Fouts. I saw him at Indianapolis. He was there. They used to bring in former NFL or NFL Hall of Fame members there the week of the race. And I walked up to Faust. I said, I've talked to you once before, Dan, but I wanted to tell you something. You remember the Ohio State Miami game? He goes, oh yeah, I remember it well. I go, well, both of my sons do a dead ringer impression of you from that game. He goes, they do? I go, yeah. He goes, what is? I said, they go, bad call. And he started laughing and stuff because it was at least holding in the end zone, but definitely pass interference. But now let
me go back to the timeout. So on the other sideline, Mark Stoops gathers his defensive back.
Right.
Say, listen, this is the final play of the game. They're not going to call it. They're not going to call anything. Get up in their grill, hold them, pull them, whatever you have to do. They're not going to call it. Well, as Chris Gamble comes off the line of scrimmage, Glenn Sharp, the cornerback that I mentioned earlier, wraps him up. His arms are around him.
Right.
So that constitutes defensive holding. Then as Krenzel releases the ball, they separate.
Yeah.
So when the ABC view of it comes in, when Fouts gives on the replay, they separate a little bit. The ball's on the way, and Gamble is the first one to tell you, I should have caught it. And Krenzel will say, I should have made it more to the back shoulder. The throw is too out far in front of him.
A little in front,
and Craig said that I should have thrown it toward the back shoulder, more to the pylon. But Chris will tell you should have caught it. So anyway, Terry Porter now drops the flag about 2 minutes late. And as he said, I wanted to replay the play in my mind to get it right, knowing it's the final play, to throw the flag, which he did. And he's later vindicated by the Big 12 supervisor officials, by Dave Perry. The Big 10 supervisor officials said it was the right call. But when you see Terry Porter, he initially comes up, motions hold. And a second later, he changes it and does the pass interference call. Well, if you know the football penalties, they're both automatic first down, half distance to goal. So it doesn't matter which one. It's
not half distance goal. It's automatic first down.
According to most supervisors, fish should have been defensive holding.
Yeah.
That was the first contact.
Well, that's what I've always said. That's what I've always said.
It goes back to what Mark Stoops told him to do.
Yeah.
And a lot of people didn't realize that.
But
they were coached to do it.
They had just gotten away with it.
But anyway,
near at the end of regulation there with Chris Campbell.
Miami fans can complain all they want, and basically the complaint is too that it came out so late after the fireworks are going off. It looked like they're going to maintain the game was stolen. And if you'd have dropped it right away, and it wasn't that big.
Well, as I said to Clay last week, I said the problem was you had an itchy finger fireworks guy, who started shooting the fireworks off, and. So that's what really enhanced it for all these Miami. Well, the fireworks guy said it was over.
Tell
the story about Terry Porter.
Well, that Big 12 crew was the highest graded Big 12 crew that season. Terry Porter was the highest graded official on the crew as a back judge, and officiated now total before he retired 50 some years. And this past summer, ironically, was inducted into the Oklahoma State Officiating Hall of Fame this past summer. And that'd make Miami fans proud to know that. But he was a highly decorated official. And like I said, he was vindicated 10 times over after the game because something had to be called there. And no matter how much Miami former players or coaches complain or fans complain, that Ohio State would have had a heck of a complaint if nothing is called on that. Because there's a lot of contact.
I wonder if the replay official from the 2019 semifinal, Ohio State versus Clemson, I wonder if he's in a Hall of Fame somewhere.
No, and that was
Hall of Shame.
I mean, that was just a terrible overturn.
Yeah, unbelievable. That was T. Higgins and Jeffrey Okuda.
Yeah, the chapter and verse, you guys are meticulous, and you've got every detail. I was on the field behind the end zone, and when they threw the flag, the late, great human being, Demetrius Stanley, hopped on Anthony Rothman's back. They watched the first half up top and then came down because I was like, I'm not leaving. This is too good.
Yeah.
And you saw a lot of that. I remember Herb Street, who was on the sideline, hopping on Eddie George's back, because this was it was a long time coming. And everybody who, is scarlet and gray it felt like was there. And they, as we know, it was like 80-20 fandom in
it was more than that,
Tempe.
Clay.
More than that.
Oh,
yeah. It was
I
nuts.
I always said 95-5. I mean,
Wow.
Hurricane fans don't travel that well to begin with.
No.
That was
right.
like Ohio Stadium West. That was a complete home game.
I had my two sons fly out on the charter just to go to that game. Kyle and Corey. Kyle would have been, I think Kyle was 14 going on 15, maybe 15. Corey was like 12. But they're sitting in the upper deck in the end zone where Ohio State scored its winning touchdown, with Maurice Clarett. And then of course, C. Grant had the blitz off the edge to seal the game, getting to Ken Dorsey at that end. And there's a great photo that they're in that I saw where they kind of showed the field and then up into the stands where you can see them. And they are kind of going crazy. And there's a lady sitting a row behind them reading a book.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Huh?
Come on.
Well, I got so many memories.
Is that crazy or what?
One of my best memories, I'm walking into that game and I see Jack Tatum with a couple buddies sitting
Wow.
on this little hill smoking a cigar.
Wow.
And it's the final conversation I ever had with him. I went over and started talking to him. He handed me a cigar and he says, "You want to smoke one with me?" And I said, I'm on my way into the press box now. I'll save it for later.
Wow.
And that's the last time I ever spoke to Jack Tatum. He died shortly after. He had diabetes complications. But I remember I had the Hurricanes locker room as an assignment back then because I was still working for Florida newspapers. And when I walked in the locker room, the first thing I saw was Kellen Winslow zip his helmet against a retaining wall, hits the retaining wall, it ricochets back and just misses me by about this much. It flew by my head. And then I went to sit.
What?
Oh, yeah. And then
I never heard this story.
Just missed me. And then my assignment was to go talk to Ken Dorsey. I went to his locker room. There's his locker. He's not there. And behind a retaining wall there in the corner, I can hear somebody crying. And I mean bawling, an adult bawling as loud as you can. And then it reduced to a sob. And this went on for about 10 minutes. And Dorsey was nowhere to be found. And sure enough, he walked around the corner and was dabbing his eyes with a towel. It was him all this time. I could hear him.
I remember that story. But,
I could hear him, but I didn't know who it was. And he, to his credit, he sat there and answered every question. That's the final game of his career.
Yep.
He'd won 34 in a row. I had so much respect for him, the way he handled that loss and talked to the media, answered every question. And then afterwards, I gather all my stuff and had written my stories. I leave the press box. I walk to downtown Tempe, and I go in a bar to have a big draft beer, and there's hardly anybody left. And I pulled out Jack Tatum's cigar and sat there and smoked it. Basically, nobody around me. It was great.
Wow. Talk about a victory cigar, ladies and gentlemen. What's funny is Dorsey, I think you agree with me, right? Dorsey might have played most of the second half with a concussion. I mean, he got popped.
He got hit a lot.
Matt Wilhelm hit him really hard way. He just didn't quite look right, especially at times in the fourth quarter and stuff, and in overtime.
He hardly made a mistake in 2 years
until
that night. They'd only sacked him 20 times in 2 seasons. Ohio State, I think, got to him 5 times that night and hit him. That was a line of scrimmage game. And Tressel thought going into the game he'd match up well in the line of scrimmage with Ohio State's offensive, defensive lines, and that was the way to win the game, to force a turnover, to win the kicking game, and run the quarterback. That was his other thing people don't realize. I'm going to run Krenzel. At the end of the game, he could have predicted he's going to be the leading rusher because I got an extra man in the box.
Right.
And he was. That's a good trivia question. Who's the leading rusher of the Fiesta Bowl? It was Craig Krenzel.
I told you. He and Vilma had one of the great collisions of all time. At the goal line. I mean, Jonathan Vilma, like I said, one of the more savage linebackers you ever saw play the game on into the NFL. And that was one of Krenzel's 2 touchdowns. And wow, that game.
It was a hard-hitting game.
And that was when I became convinced that an extended playoff would be folly for college football. Because you asked Jim Tressel, they would not have been able to play a game in anywhere close to 100% capacity.
Your team would have.
The next week, if not 2 weeks. I mean, that's why I thought this going to an extended playoff now for college football was going to have its problems. So far in the 4-team era, there are very few examples, I think, of that coming to pass. And then last year, I'm trying to remember who got banged up last year, but you lose your quarterback in this level of play.
Right.
It's ridiculous what it can do to your football
Ohio
team.
State went to 4 games last year and didn't have any significant injuries, but it's going to happen.
Yes.
So you're going to see a Mendoza, and I shouldn't even say a name when I'm talking about injuries, but you're going to see a top-line quarterback go down in the quarters or semis, and you're going to see a championship game played with a backup quarterback.
Correct.
Eventually. And then all the presidents and athletic directors will be looking at each other. Did we do the right thing? And there's an asterisk on this title or that title. But that's the NFL playoffs for you. Happens every year. The injuries are going to take its toll when you add.
But you got a waiver wire, and you got a you can acquire talent in the NFL where you can't in college football.
We argued about this for 25 years, and that's why I was part of the BCS when I wrote for Bill Hancock. Then I was a big believer that we should not have a playoff because of just the different logistics, the extra games, the injury factor, the classroom factor. It delineates the regular season was the biggest thing I always pushed for. These conference championship games right now are not really worthy of any. Look at Indiana, Ohio State. They're still number 1 and number 2 seed.
Right.
Now, the more you expand, the less they got to take these championship games away, the conference championship games.
Yeah.
But
well, here's the thing. If you lose one, that's the problem. Like Penn State lost its championship game last year and was going to have to play 4 games to win the national championship, meaning they went into the first round instead of getting a bye, whereas Oregon got the bye. And so that takes that, you under the championship thing, if you only have to play 3 more games after playing a championship game, I get it. But if you are the loser of the game and you fall into 5 through 12, you have to play 4 games to win the national championship on top of losing that game.
It's good and bad. Let me break it down for you. It's good for the athletic director at an extra game
I know
at Beaver Stadium to sell tickets.
I know that.
And they got another $6 million out of it. It's bad for the coach that has to win an extra game and to get his way all the way to the finals. And look at that coach. He made it to the semifinals, gets fired the next year.
Yeah.
So I mean,
that's crazy when you think about it.
But but if they keep expanding this thing, you got to cut back. You can't make these kids play 20 games, 17, 18, 19. Nope. If we're going to 16 or even more, you're not only getting rid of the championship games. What are you going to play, a 9-game, 8-game regular season?
Right. I agree with you 100%. I don't want them to go to 16. And
I don't either.
God rest Roy Kramer's soul, if you know who he is.
Yeah,
SEC
commissioner.
And I was at the very first conference championship game between Alabama and Florida in 1992. And back then, we couldn't wait to see what it, how it looked. And they had a tiebreaker system set up, the Texas tiebreaker, which you use now. And it almost went to overtime. Guy named Antonio Langham, which you're familiar with, cornerback from Alabama. It was tied, and he stepped in front of a little out pass from Shane Matthews and went 21 yards for a touchdown. And other than that, we would have had that overtime. But he developed this. Every conference followed, and now here we are. We've come full circle. Or if they go to 16, they can't possibly keep these extra games. I mean, you look at injuries. Indiana and Ohio State was such a hard-hitting game. And, they're lucky that neither team lost significant starters there going in. And, you hate to play that game and lose it. At the same time, there isn't a player in Ohio State's roster that has a Big Ten championship ring, and they still don't.
Correct.
And they wanted to win the ball game.
Correct.
So, but they were lucky enough not to fall out of the top 4. So that's why you win them all. And if that's your only loss, you're going to stay in the top 4 and get that bye, which they did.
So what purpose does an 18-team conference serve if you're not even going to try to find a champion of the conference?
There you go.
A 16-team SEC. Well, so what? I mean, except for the obvious thing is it's a huge voting block. Number 1, number 2, huge revenue share for for all the networks that cover the Big Ten, and of course ABC, ESPN, et cetera, for the SEC. But except for providing inventory from a scheduling standpoint for the networks with a 9-game schedule like the Big Ten has been playing for several years and the SEC's going to, why? I don't agree with getting rid of the conference championship games.
Well, let me clean up my words first of all, considering that I wrote for the BCS at one time for Bill Hancock and advocate. I wrote a lot of his speeches and different things about the information points of not wanting a playoff. That's basically was the job back then. During the BCS.
By the way, I had him on my podcast last year.
Did you?
Yeah,
he's
excellent man.
And I love that man. But anyway, now that it's here, and now that we've seen the 4 team, and now that we've seen the 12 team, and you and I are fans of college football. So let me clean that up by saying the more college football for me, the better. I mean, the games last year were so good. These four quarterfinals coming up Wednesday and Thursday. Can you just not wait to see them?
Oh, all 4 of them are unbelievable matchups.
So let me just say, now that it's here, I love it.
Yeah.
At the same time, I hope and pray not prominent kids get hurt playing this thing, and where it determines the outcome, where maybe the best team doesn't win a championship at the same time.
Yeah, let me interject one quick thing. By the way, Tegra Shabola was already kind of a little bit banged up, but then he aggravated his injury against Indiana. And Gabe VanSickle, like we're going to have Gabe VanSickle on here in a minute, talking about making his first start. There's Ohio State's already had a casualty from the playoff game. Go ahead.
Let me tackle one,
which was the Big Ten championship.
Tackle one more issue, because back in the day they used to say, now we can't go to playoff because these kids are amateur athletes not getting money. Well, that's been erased now because NIL money, making millions at depending on their position. So now it makes more sense if we're going to give them an extra 2, 3, 4 games. At least they're getting compensated for.
Correct.
You wouldn't want to just be room and board and books and tuition and training table with all these 16 games, 15, 16 games. That's not fair. So that angle's been taken care of.
But shouldn't the guys who are now putting themselves in jeopardy playing in these extra games be getting something on top of that from the college football playoff?
I don't.
Oh, I disagree with that 100%.
What are you going to give them, a percentage of the gate?
Yeah, you give them percentage of something.
But the angle I don't like is all these other bowl games, and I'm a bowl guy. You're a bowl guy.
Yep.
I remember when I was covering college football as a beat, there was 15 to 17 bowls. Well, now there's 42. But the point being, look at the opt-outs. Well, before a game starts, I have to Google the opt-outs of every team, and they're playing with a lot of redshirt freshmen and freshmen. Like, you look at the Penn State Clemson game, there's over 50 opt-outs in that ball game.
Yeah.
The other day at the Pinstripe Bowl. That is a ramification of the playoff. And everybody knows that if you're not in the playoff, the opt-outs
I'm wasting my time
in the dozens.
Yeah, I'm wasting my time. I'm putting myself in jeopardy.
Christian McCaffrey was the very first one. Now look at it now.
Yeah.
And that's the sad part, because we all know the bowl experience. If you really, and I covered a lot of college football teams, the bowl experience for the average player is a treat. It is a great time. If you got a week in a great location, you go to children's hospitals, you get some graft, you get some good trips, the camaraderie. When I talk to players that are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s after their playing days over, and I'll say, what was your best memory? A lot of them say, bring up a bowl trip, because they're in a hotel together for a week. They're having a blast.
Yeah.
And a lot of that's being taken away too. So, I mean, the game has evolved. It's changed. It's so different than the way it used to be.
I know you guys
on that play. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Terry Smith's reaction to taking that team to was it New York and playing
Pinstripe Bowl,
and playing Clemson, and what it meant to him. And Herb Street kind of kept retweeting it. Just he just was grateful for the experience. Here's a guy who maybe should have had a shot at the interim never gets it. It doesn't seem like, but just what it meant to him, and the kids who said, nope, we're going to stay with you. We're going to see this through. Yeah. And for him to have that moment to beat Clemson, and I don't know, I just thought it was cool. And he was kind of making the case that the bowl game is still something of value.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a Penn State guy, Clay. So he played there, and he's coached there his whole life. So he has that attachment where a lot of coaches don't.
True.
But at the same time, he can say that, but you can also say, hey, you were missing 7 starters who opted out. So why didn't they stay in?
You're right.
But they still won the game. They played a better game, a cleaner game, and I give him all the credit in the world. And Matt Campbell's best decision since taking that job was retaining him.
Absolutely. Right. Guys are part and parcel to Penn State, man. I mean, it's pretty cool. Hey, Clay, let's get to some of my sound from today real quick.
Absolutely.
Let's get to this Jayden Fielding sort of raw video audio that we got from him. It was a media day down on the field at AT&T Stadium, aka Jerry World. And Jayden Fielding, of course, missed a quote chip shot, end quote, field goal attempt against Indiana with 2.5 minutes left. That would have tied the score. That doesn't mean Ohio State would have kept them from driving down to a field goal themselves. Who knows? But would have tied the score and possibly sent it into overtime after Ohio State banged on the door there inside the 10-yard line for the second time in that game and came away with 0 points. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Let's get to a little audio here with Jayden Fielding. Wait a minute. Let me there we go.
4 or 5 game-winning situation kicks at the end of practice without telling me before. So just kind of sending me out there and seeing if I make it or not. And yeah, I've made all of them so far. So.
Have you ever had a side hill lie? No, that's an inside joke between us. Hey, Jayden, seriously, you get one shot. You know what I mean? I mean, and you can't live on that, right? I mean, you can't dwell on it, but you have to learn. What did you learn from that moment?
I just got to keep my head down, keep working, and just try to be more consistent. I guess. Got to keep my toe down, and I worked a lot on those short angle kicks because I find those particularly difficult because the angle's so sharp with the hashes being outside the uprights. You don't want to hit it straight,
right?
And you'll miss. So.
Yeah.
When you, it was on the right hash, and I know usually kickers like to go left to right. Was that a situation for you? Like, I'd rather be up the outside?
I wouldn't say that. I would just say, I didn't hit my best ball, and then I tried to overcorrect for the angle. So.
Yeah, it's like a golf shot.
Yeah, exactly.
It literally is like a golf shot. And we've seen pros, we see NFL guys miss those shots. I wanted to ask you this: did the Heat get? Did you pay attention to social media? Did the Heat get big? I mean,
yeah. I mean, for me, I try and stay off social media as it is. You know, people will say whatever they want without consequences on social media. So I try and stay away from that, especially in season. But my phone number got leaked, so there's only so much you can do. I tried to stay away from it as much as I could, but I think I had over 5,000 calls or something like that.
So what did you learn about humanity from that?
People can be unforgiving, but it's not about what they say or what they do. It's about what you believe, and it's about what people close to you, your teammates, your family.
Yeah. I've been wanting to ask you this for a while. By the way, I grew up in East Texas, Lufkin, Texas. You're from League City, right?
Yep.
Can you explain your frame of mind you try to get into before you run out there for a kick? Meaning, like you just said, Coach Day, they do a pretty good job. If all of a sudden, hey, kick.
Yeah.
During practice and stuff. But what is that frame of mind you have to have? I mean,
just
you could explain to people who've never been there.
If I could explain it to somebody who never.
No, meaning what's going through your brain?
Yeah, what's going through my mind? Trying to be as focused as I can, but also calm, because you don't want to be too amped up, too hyped up. You want to be in kind of a flow state.
Yeah.
This is the way I describe it. And it's like when Steph Curry's shooting threes and he's just going down the court and he's just making everything.
Stroking.
That's exactly what you want to be like. You want to be smooth, very agile, very fluid. It's kind of where you want to be.
But he's taking 25 shots a game. You're taking
2, maybe. Yeah.
2, except for extra points.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, of course.
I appreciate it, man.
By the way, I apologize for my voice. I don't know why.
Got a frog in there. I wanted to follow up on that a little bit. I knew when he hit it, he overcompensated for the hash. And, those kicks in the NFL are a lot easier than they are in college football because he's on the right hash. The hashes are the average.
They're literally
does not realize.
They're literally down the uprights
the
in the NFL.
are wider than the uprights.
Yeah.
And
I'm talking about in the NFL. They're almost right down the hash.
Yeah. Anybody who played football, or baseball, I'll tell you, relief pitchers and kickers, that's a mental kick and that's a mental miss. It wasn't a physical thing.
Correct.
And I could tell when he hit it, he overcompensated for the hash. But a lot of coaches now, one thing I would have done if you're inside the 15-yard line is you take an automatic delay of game when you're on that hash. And you take it and go back 5 yards and if you ask Jayden Fielding, which maybe he didn't do, say, hey, 5 yards, is that better taking you back? He automatically would have said, yes, coach, take the delay of game. That gets me back where I can hit the kick straight. It's a geometry issue.
Oh, absolutely.
The straighter the kick is, the higher your percentage of making it.
Right.
But to his credit, though, I love the way he answered those questions there because, he had time to think about it, which is the worst thing in the world. I'll bet he went out to practice the following Monday. From that point, hit 20 out of 20.
Sure.
And it's the same thing I think about Noah Ruggles back to the Georgia game. And I always, I don't know if you guys ever got to interview him afterwards, what he had done, but he overstrided into the ball.
I literally took video stop shots of where his left foot was, his plant foot,
right,
from the one he had made,
right,
from 48.
Yeah.
And then the one, and literally it was that much closer.
Right.
But that's Huge.
Yeah. Right. It's a mechanical thing, but that's
Yeah.
a 50-yarder from the left hash.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to ask him, he was done then. That was his final kick. And it's sadly his final kick. But I always wanted to ask him, did you go back out to the Woody on that following week from that hash, and how many did you hit?
Yeah.
And I'll bet it was the same type of thing. But, you can't.
Like Robin Williams, remember replaying that play where he dropped a pass in high school in that football movie?
But you just can't.
And he had another shot at it
again. So you just got to hope the kid's head is right going
Correct.
forward in the playoffs, and he doesn't think about that anymore. But there's little coaching things you can do to take that away from him, that mental thing. Like I said, eliminate that hash issue and take a delay a game. If you have to take two.
Yeah. But, on third down, you're right. You're right. On third down, of course, Ohio State was going for it, so they weren't trying to set up, put him in the middle of the field because they wanted to win the game right there.
No, I understand.
Oh, I know it. I know what you're talking
I'm
about.
talking about later.
You're talking about, so they're trying to win the game right there. By the way, can't you decline
Yes, you can.
a delay of game
if
penalty?
Kurt Signetti is smart,
Right.
He might take a delay game, but what you risk then is still 4th and 1. The Ryan Day second.
Another chance to think about it.
Throws his offense back out there. All right, you going to decline that? Now we're going to go for the win.
Yeah.
Now he was so hell bent on kicking it and going to overtime and having the defense stop him. But I still believe, the third. I don't blame Jayden Field. I blame that third down call was terrible. You got 3rd and 1, and your mindset should be, I'm taking 2 running plays to get this. We're going to win the game right here and here, right now, 17-13.
I think a sprint pass when you've got a back going out into the flat and you've got a tight end coming across the back, coming across the end zone, and you have the ball in your hand, which you can also run.
That play works against Rutgers and Western Michigan. When you got an Indiana defense like them as well, coached as they are, both options
they did jump it.
Both options were covered, and that tells you right then your margin of error is so much greater than as opposed to running.
If you were going to throw to the running back, you had to do it immediately. If you were going to run instead of throw to the running back, you had to do that immediately. And instead you threw to the tight end and the backside defender made the play.
A holding call as well. But I had Lincoln Keenholz in the ball game, sneaking him for a first down on 3rd down. If it didn't work, it got closer. I'd have done it on 4th down. You take 2 plays to get the first down and win the ball game. So,
hey, Tim,
do you see how much control I'm having right here? I'm showing Clay much self-control I'm showing.
But as a fellow golfer, when you heard the 2 words "head down," how many times have you been in a foursome? I have. When I used to be able to hit the ball pretty dadgum far, and it's like Rothman used to say to me, "Keep your head down. Stop looking into the stars. You got to hit the ball first, then you go watch."
Right.
But anyway,
but here's the thing too that you face, and you know what I'm talking about here. Sometimes when you got that big kick, you just want to pound that thing, leave no doubt. That's exactly what Jeff's talking about. Then that slight overstride, your foot comes. Well, it was with Jayden too. Jayden pulled that left. I mean,
but he was over.
You just hit it
for the hash.
You hit it too hard. Right. And the thing about Noah Ruggles is he had just hit one from 48 from the same hash. Same hash.
Exactly.
The pressure, the timeouts.
All he had to do was hit the same kick.
And Kirby took timeouts to make him think about it, which worked. But
wait a minute, did Kirby take timeout or was he applauding?
But watch the NFL.
I can't wait till.
Have you watched the NFL kickers on extra points? Pushing back 10 years.
Yeah.
Watch their follow through. It's just a nice, easy little swing.
Oh yeah.
And they don't try to hit it hard.
Right.
And their percentages are so good in the NFL as kickers.
Yeah.
But how old is Jayden Field? He's young. He does.
Yeah. He's like 21 maybe.
He's that pressure's there, and he just overcompensate for the ankle. He said it.
Let's get to Gabe VanSickle is going to make his first start. Just a little conversation with Gabe VanSickle today on Media Day.
Much of it, I guess.
Honestly, I'm just trying to help out my team the best I can. So I don't know.
Yeah, but is it fun?
It's really fun.
Yeah,
really fun.
It's a heck of a thing to be asked to step up into a starting spot
in
the quarterfinal for the first time. Yeah, I guess you can't do anything other than think it's fun, right?
Yeah.
You can't let it kind of.
No, the moment you don't think the game's fun, you lose the game. So you always got to think you always got to find that fun in the game.
Yeah. What's it like playing between Carson and Phil, and how much of those guys helped you?
I mean, Carson's a 4th-year guy. He's a veteran, and he knows everything, like how to ID plays and all that stuff. And he's like always there. Like if I make a mistake, he's telling me that, and he's not like screaming in my face and like telling me like what I did wrong, but he's just there. and he's helping me out. Phil's obviously really good, and he's always telling me like what to do on plays sometimes, and like fits and stuff, and it's awesome to be around.
What or when did you start to feel like ready? Like I know every guy like hopes to play early. I guess I think it's a little more difficult on the offensive line. At what point did you think like, you know what, I think like I got this. I can start helping this team now.
I think the start of fall camp is when it really started. I had like my spring ball was kind of all right, and then like the first few weeks of fall camp, I can actually like I can move up in this and like start like helping out my team.
What was happening then that made you think that?
I felt like I was just like getting in the right spot, like actually like moving people and like blocking good and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Gabe, you're being put on the big stage here, though, in this kind of moment and stuff. Like he was just asking you, Bill, when did you feel like you were capable of being this player? If you follow my drift there.
Yeah.
It's like the old Seinfeld episode, no Bette Midler, you know?
I think once I started playing like the UCLA game, I played close to 40 snaps.
Yeah.
And, like getting like those major snaps actually like helped me, like, because the game's a long game. You got to be ready to play like 70 snaps. So I think playing in the UCLA game like built my confidence to be able to play in these type of games.
And was there a play or whatever where you just like, like when you play golf, you hit this one shot and you go, hey, I can do that every time. You know what I mean? Type thing. Was there a play you remember where you pancaked the guy or you handled a dude and you go, all right, I'm worthy of being here?
I think the UCLA game when like you pass off a twist, like obviously like the speed of the game for that, like it's a lot faster than a little walkthrough. Like passing off a twist in the game is a lot different. So like passing off that like built my confidence.
That brings up a good question,
Yeah, thank you.
Brings up a good question. The kind of the trouble y'all had in that realm against Indiana and stuff with what they were doing up front and stuff. What do you think y'all had figured out there or gotten straight going into this game?
Obviously, we just need to play. I think we just need to play better, like on offense.
Yeah, but what does that mean? Yeah, what does that mean, though? I mean,
obviously, you can't give up sacks, and we got to be able to run the ball.
Yeah, but I mean, what have y'all worked on in terms of guys' twists, stunts, things like that, of being more aware, whatever you want to call it?
I mean, I'm not going to comment on that.
Okay. Okay, but you understand what I'm saying.
I
mean, obviously Miami will watch that. Yeah. What is your take on Miami's defensive front? Obviously, they're getting a lot of ballyhoo going into this.
Obviously, their edges are well known. They're really good, and their D tackles are really good too. I think they're really twitchy and they're strong guys, and I think it'll be a good challenge for us.
Hey, last thing.
Yeah, last thing, but I wanted to cut it off anyway. I want to get to Carson Hinsman talking about some things. We could talk forever. Obviously, big moment for Gabe VanSickle starting in a national college football playoff quarterfinal game.
When I look at this matchup, it's the key to the ball game.
Yeah.
There's two defensive ends against this offensive line. If and I told you yesterday we were talking about this, Ohio State has 4 good tight ends, right?
Yeah.
Which of those 4 are the best blocking tight ends? Bennett Christian?
Well, Max
Clare?
Kasmerick. Kasmerick is really good. Kasmerick
on his side,
probably Bennett Christian.
On his side, if he's going against Bain and the other defensive end's great too.
Yeah.
I would always have a tight end helping him out.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, you can get away with it without him over there because you have to take a receiver off the field. I'm getting your voice.
I know. That makes me mad listening to that. I couldn't clear my throat.
Yeah, but I would definitely have a tight end on his side almost all the time. Get him used to it, chip him, and I don't mean chip him. I mean help him because you chip him, you get called for a penalty. I've got
another approach to that. I would see if Philip Daniels and or Austin Saraveld can handle it first. That's what I would want
on
to
that
know.
side. Leave him alone. On this side where you got a new starter,
right?
I'm going to help him.
But he's a guard, so you know what I mean.
Yeah, I'm saying on the tackle side, on the right tackle side,
right? But Philip Daniels is the right tackle, and I would see if he matches up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Philip Daniels is nasty.
You don't want to wait 2 series and see this when you're 3rd and 15.
No, I didn't say 2 series. I said right off the gate, right off the bat, because you've got to go out there and measure these guys. Because you can look at them on video all you want. You've got to measure,
their speed's going.
How can I handle this? Because we may want to go.
Their speed and strength's going to be shocking to these.
Well, we may, meaning I'm an offense. I may want to go 5 wides at some point in the game.
Well, you better get out quick then. I mean, if you're going to do that.
Right, we'll see. That's what I'm saying. Sometimes you see ballyhoo about guys and they aren't up to that.
Well, they got 13 games of ballyhoo on film, and they're pretty darn good.
Right.
I mean, ask A&M how good they are.
I understand that.
Marcel Reed got sacked 7 times.
Yeah.
He hadn't been sacked hardly at all this year, and they couldn't get back to the line of scrimmage.
Right.
I mean, these guys dominated that football game.
I agree.
And Miami's secondaries can be.
And they were the Texas A&M had the Maroon Goons in front of.
You can take advantage of the secondary.
In front of
but
Marcel.
You got to have time to throw the ball.
My point is, I understand everything you're saying, but I'm saying I wouldn't right off the bat necessarily commit to that if, in fact, I find out my guy can handle him.
Well, I'd take the opposite approach. I'd help him first, and then later on, once he gets in the flow of the game, the speed of the game, because if you know, the first couple of series is when the speed of the game gets guys that don't have experience.
Correct.
So wait, now help him first, wait and see if he handles a little bit. And then if he does, get your tight end off the field and you're back at 3 wides. Because you give up a receiver when you do this. And, that's Brandon Innes. You got 2 top All-American receivers. So they're going to be on the field, but you got 4 good tight ends. I'd be using them. And, you just can't throw deep without Max protecting all the time.
Somebody get me a replay of our last podcast you and I did together. We talked about them having too many tight ends on the field. Maybe we'll replay that here in a little while.
What? I don't like them in the run situation that you're taking.
I know. I'm messing with you. Hey, I want to get to these videos because we're almost out of time.
I want more backs and less tight ends on the run situation.
Let's see what Carson Hinsman has to say.
Okay, go ahead.
Be your pregame advice to Gabe going into this, though. I mean, with this kind of start, et cetera. All you guys have to prove yourself at one time or another, right, in life, and you get that big moment. You've had the big moments.
Yeah.
What's your advice to him, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, just go and execute. I think, there's nothing more he can, there's no superhuman effort that needs to be done.
Yeah.
And I think for Gabe to go out there and know that he's, fully capable to go out there and start at right guard, I think it's important for him. I think he has that confidence and still ready, going against guys in practice. We've gone against some of the craziest people you've seen in practice the past couple of years for him.
Yeah.
And so for him to have that confidence going into this game, he's played a lot of football as well, regardless starting or not. But I think for him to go into this game and have confidence not only in himself, but who's on the left and right of him is going to be huge.
Yeah, it's like even he was talking about a while ago. The speed of the game is always different because the other guy doesn't like you.
Yeah.
The guy across from you in practice, y'all still may be having a burger or something later, right?
Yeah.
Or wings, excuse me.
Yeah.
But I mean, that is something that you have to experience, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and obviously he's played this year, so he's there and stuff. What do you expect from this offensive line as a group?
For this game, you're saying?
On Wednesday night, in terms of maybe the taste you had in your mouth coming out of the Indiana game.
Yeah, I mean, expectation-wise, I expect us to go out and execute the way we plan to do and the way we know we can. And so I think for us to go out and do that is going to be important. Yeah. Not only for this team, but for ourselves because we put in a lot of work to get to this point. And I think for us to do anything but that would be, a failure. And so for us to go out and execute and dominate the way we know we can, the way we have played ball, I think is going to be important. And that comes down to fundamentals. That comes down to execution. That comes down to communication on the offensive line. So for us to fully understand what we're doing, how we're doing it, and why we're doing it is what's going to be important.
Did y'all get back to basics a little bit on communication, for example? Coming out of that? Because when all that's happening as fast as it's happening in front of you, sometimes it's hard to
I mean, there's a lot, man. There's a lot. And for us to execute communication, like you said, is huge. And, Indiana obviously is a completely different defense than Miami's, but for us to continue to learn why we're doing these plays and the concept of the plays, not the fronts that we're going to see, helps us, face anything we got because we've seen it all at this point. So it's going to be pretty important to go out and just continue to communicate not only with the offensive line, but with Jules, the running backs, and the tight ends to execute our plays.
Last thing, are you in that moment now where do I keep the blonde or the bleached look because the roots obviously are showing now?
No, well, see, that's the problem. It's like, do I just thug it out until I get frosted tips, or do I shave it? But I don't know. I've done a buzz cut before. It was rougher than the blonde, so I think I'll stay white a little bit longer. So I got some purple shampoo, so I'll keep it as non-brassy as possible.
Good.
Carson Hinsman, by the way.
That's a hard-hitting question on that last one.
Thank you. I told him, after he lost the bet with Luke Montgomery, and he had to in essence blonde up his hair. What's it called? Not chlorine, bleach his hair. I said, blondes do have more fun. He thought that was pretty good, but and then he went up and beat Michigan. Isn't that right, Clay?
There you go.
But hey, Clay, couple thoughts from you, man, before we go.
Well, I've got the true false. I can save them for Wednesday.
No, let's do it. Let's do it right now.
Number one, Carson Beck has to outplay or outstat Julian Sand for the Canes to win.
I think that's true. What do you think,
I'd
Jeff?
say false, because I'd say Mark Fletcher would be a factor in this. So if Mark Fletcher runs for 130 and Carson Beck throws 15 passes and they dominate the time of possession, that's Miami's path to victory.
I would say Mark Fletcher was almost a non-factor until the fourth quarter, their last game against Texas A&M, and they got a few things done. And I give it up to them, but
all right.
I think Ohio State's defense is built for this. Go ahead.
Number two, Mario Cristobal belongs with the great Miami coaches like Jimmy, Howard, and Dennis.
Not yet. No, not even close. He's still developing this. This is his first breakout year. They lost 3 or more games every year. So no, he needs to break through. He's an alum there. He played there. I covered him when he was a tackle, but no, not yet. Not yet, Clay.
Emphatic false. Emphatic false.
They have 3 coaches there that won national titles.
That was
emphatic
was an easy
false.
one. Number 3, Julian Sand will throw for 250 and 3 scores.
I go first this time. I say true. I think if they protect Julian, it is there, dude. I think their safety started for Tennessee last year against Ohio State. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, you can look at this in all kinds of different ways. Jacoby Thomas. I just think if they protect, it is there. Ohio State's weapon of choice is going to be Jeremiah Smith, Julian Sand, Brandon Ennis, and Max Clare. So I think the opportunities will be there to throw the ball a lot.
Miami's passing D is 32nd in the country. I'm sorry,
I don't
Jeff.
care.
Go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'll say true in the first part, 250. Definitely. Who knows? The 3 scores. A lot of times you hit a pass down to the 3-yard line. You have C.J. Donaldson run it in. So, it's a little.
I didn't listen to that part of the question.
But go ahead.
Yeah.
Number 4, Ohio State will have more sacks than Miami will.
I'll say true.
I say true also.
That's all.
I know this for a fact.
That would be huge.
I know this for a fact. Caden Curry is champing at the bit to play this game.
It all starts with stopping that running game.
So is Kenyatta Jackson. So is Caden McDonald.
By the way, those two have combined for 17.5 sacks this year. Not too shabby.
Go ahead. Wait a minute. Jeff had a thought.
Clay. I mean,
I'm sorry.
The direct correlation between stop and Fletcher leads to the number of sacks. So the less yards Fletcher has, the more sacks Ohio State has, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
This is not Marcel Reed. This is not Damon Williams. They're going to be chasing.
Mobile at all.
Correct. Right. Carson Beck.
Bo Jackson goes over 100 yards rushing.
False.
I'm going to say true.
Okay.
I think they've got some things straight with this offensive front. I do believe. Number 2, do not mistake Miami's defensive front with Indiana's, at least the Indiana front that played against Ohio State. They lost a key player.
That's right.
That
Stephen
group.
Daly. Yeah.
Yes.
He had 20 tackles for loss, something close to that. All right. Number 7, Ohio State will cover the 9.5.
True.
Oh, wow. And finally, one Miami reporter called the A&M game medieval, referring to the physicality. Will this one be the same?
It'll be very physical. Indoor game on turf. 2 fast teams.
Yeah.
Very physical and hard hitting.
Absolutely. There are going to be collisions aplenty. So true.
Hey, great to be with you fellas today. Thank you.
Absolutely, Clay.
All right, buddy.
Thanks for joining us. And ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us. We'll be back again tomorrow with some kind of podcast situation leading up to this big, huge matchup here in the big AT&T Stadium, a.k.a. Jerry World. Ohio State versus Miami. Like we said, Ohio State, as we sit here right now, is a 9.5 point favorite. Tomorrow, I think Jeff and I will discuss, is that legitimate? But we'll leave it right there. But for Jeff Snook and for Clay Hall, I'm Tim May. This has been the Tim May Show featuring Clay Hall. We'll see you next time.
Shh. By the way, Clay has left the room. I wanted to let you folks in on a real bargain out there in the world of simulator golf. The Back Nine Golf, which is located at 2820 Fishinger Road in Upper Arlington, has a hell of a holiday box available to you right now. The value is nearly $300, but your price is $150. If you jump online, that's almost 50% off. If you jump online at Columbus at theback9golf.com, that's their email address. their website is theback9golf.com/Columbus-upper-Arlington-OH/ That's a long that's a long address, but just write it down a couple times watching it. And you can also call them at 614-362-7888, parentheses putt, PUTT. But the bottom line is one of the new ultra modern simulators that you can find in the greater Columbus area. And it's really right there in the middle of Upper Arlington. I know Tito Thidoff and I hopped in there the other day. I think it was 16 degrees outside. There was snow and ice everywhere, and we played Pebble Beach. And we did it in less than an hour. So it's one of the great bargains going out there. And with this holiday box, you get 1 month of Birdie membership. You get Back Nine branded golf balls. You get cozy Back Nine beanie, and you get premium Back Nine towel. So that's a hell of a deal, because basically it's unlimited golf. It's 24/7. You get a code to get you in the door, and then you can go from there. And it's definitely fun. It's the premises are pristine. I know we had a great time. We even played closest to the hole, a few shots on number 7, famed number 7 short par 3 at Pebble Beach the other day, and had a great time doing it. So if you're looking for that last minute gift for a golfer that you love, or yourself that you love, that you're a golfer, nothing wrong with giving yourself a gift at this time of the year. That's the Back Nine Golf holiday box, and it's only a limited time. And there, as you can imagine, there are only a few available. Quantities are tight. So check in at theback9golf.com.